Today on Doing Time with Dan, we're going to take a look at a tugboat inside and out. You know, it seems like a lifetime ago, but for more than 17 years I worked on the Philadelphia waterfront around tugboats like this one. Now this boat in particular is more than 100 feet long, has 4,200 horsepower, and a huge tow wire like that. You're going to see this and a whole lot more, so stay here at Doing Time with Dan. Now you may wonder, why did I start on the back end of the boat? Well, the stern is where there's a lot of action on a tugboat, because a tugboat is all about pushing and pulling, and the pulling happens usually from this end. As you can see, the winch here is probably about 5 foot in diameter, and that's a huge tow wire. There's a control station up here, and I'm going to take you up there so that you can see what the captains can see as they're working with the winch down here. He stands in a separate little wheelhouse there so that he can keep an eye on the guys down on the deck, and at the same time, he's protected from the tow wire. Now back here on the stern deck, you'll notice this huge, what looks like a big pipe going across the stern deck here on the tug. That's called the Texas bar. And your tow wire is going to lead through one of those shivs and go over the stern. And what's good about that is it keeps the wire up and away from the wheel as best you can. It also keeps it off the deck, because as that moves back and forth, you can see how this is all greased up. As you go through the ocean or down the river, wherever you're going, this needs to be able to move back and forth like that. And of course you don't want that rubbing on your gun wall or on your deck, so the Texas bar keeps it up high. You'll also see some shivs down here that you can lead lines forward in case you're pushing a barge. For example, the barge is behind us here. They have a notch in the back. And you can get in that notch and you lead these lines up to the bits on the barge, and you can winch in really tight, and then it behaves almost like a single unit, much like a ship would. So here's the aft control station where the captain can be inside, out of the weather, and at the same time control both the winch and the boat's engines and rudders. I'm going to show you a close-up of that, as well as the point of view down onto the deck, so you see exactly what that's like. The first thing you'll notice is a pair of throttles right here. You have your throttles, you have your RPM meters that tell you how fast your engine's running. And right next to that, you also have your rudder control with an indicator that tells you what your rudder position is. And this complex set of controls right here, this is what operates your winches. You know, you can see from here, you can see down on deck, see what the guys are doing, and control the winches from up here. And you'll notice that grate out there, just in case something breaks, you're pretty much safe inside of here. You also have radios, a PA system, spotlight, and you also have a house radio phone here so you can talk to the guys inside the boat if you need to. We're going to go back out on deck and show you some more of this handsome tugboat. Now before we leave the upper deck, I just want to point out some items of safety equipment. Of course, the most important next to your life jacket is the life raft. This one here is packed inside this container, and in the unfortunate event that the tugboat sinks, this will automatically deploy and inflate, and it might be all you have to save your life. So it's good to have one of those on board, and it is a requirement within your safety gear. You also have an emergency fire pump inside this locker, and behind the paint locker here you have a fire extinguisher. And remember, once you leave the dock, you have to have all your equipment that you're going to need with you. You can't pull over or call Home Depot and get what you need. Now I'm on the bow of the boat, and this is your forward H-bit, and up there you'll see what we call a bull ring. It's shaped like a U, and you can lead a line through it, feed it back or to the port or starboard, whichever way you want to go, and make your line secure back here on the H-bit. Now, depending on what type of work you're doing, this is one of the busiest parts of the boat. If you're shifting barges or maybe docking a ship, you're going to have somebody out here, and they're really going to have to do a lot of work, catching lines, making them up, taking them off, back and forth as the day goes on. Okay, so moving down the side of the boat, we get to the quarter bits. These obviously are located about a quarter of the way down the side of the boat from the bow or the stern. These happen to be the bow quarter bits here, and they come in handy when you're making up alongside a barge. You usually have 3 lines out, a bow line, quarter line, and a stern line, and that gives you good handling when you have the barge alongside. You can use them for all different kind of things. Maybe you're just tying to the dock or tying to another boat temporarily, but quarter bits give you flexibility, and it's nice to have them both bow and stern on the tug. Let's just stop on deck here for a second, talk again about safety. As you see here, this tug is equipped with an outside fire hose here. It's fire station number 2 labeled on the side, and there's a powered pump down in the engine room, so the engineer can turn on that pump and the deckhands can use this fire monitor here to spray water on whatever happens to be on fire. Hopefully it's not your own boat. But remember, tugboats might have to do double duty. They might have to be on fire station, you know, assisting at one of the oil refineries, or maybe there's a ship on fire, something like that. And it's good to have your own firefighting equipment right here on deck. Now my next stop is the upper control station. You can see it's way up there, probably about 30-40 feet above the deck. And that's great when you have an unloaded barge that's really high up out of the water. The captain can see better out over the bow. So let's go up there and take a look. All right, so we're going to peek through this little door and take a look at the upper control station. All right, welcome to the upper wheelhouse. As you can see, it's only about an arm's length width on either side of me, and with this captain's chair in the middle, there's not a lot of room up here, but you do have everything you need to control the boat. Of course, you have your rudder control here on the console, as well as your throttles, an old school compass, engine instrumentation, pair of binoculars because you want to be able to see out there, unless of course it's foggy, in which case your chart plotter up here will come in very handy. You have a spotlight PA system in case you want to yell down to the guys on deck so they can hear you, get instructions for what you're doing, as well as your wind meters, your radios, emergency stop buttons here just in case something bad really happens, and all the other different things that you might need to run the boat are up here in the upper control station or upper wheelhouse, depending on what you want to call it. Now, as you can see, hearing protection is required in the engine room, and that's our next stop. I'm just going to do a walkthrough with the camera so that you get to see the engines, the generators, the electrical distribution panel, all that equipment down there, but I'm going to have to do some voiceover because, as you can see, it's really noisy down there. Welcome to the engine room. All right, we're going to go past the staircase for just a second to show you that up on the upper level of the engine room we have a washer, dryer, and a sink here. Of course, you got to keep your laundry clean when you're out there at sea. And now we're going down the main staircase into the actual engine room itself. And this is where all the horsepower is made. Right here on the right, this yellow beast you see, that's a Caterpillar 3516 engine, makes about 2,100 horsepower. So that's quite a bit of horsepower that you'll find down here in the engine room. Now moving across to the other side, we're going to pass the electrical distribution panel from the generators, and here's the other engine, another Caterpillar 3516, as well as a workbench. Of course, you're always going to be fixing, cleaning, or doing something on that, so it's good to have a workbench. I'm just going to move down the side here. You'll get a look at the individual heads on this engine. You can see the fuel lines going in there, intake manifold, all of that. Notice that blue beast there. That's one of the air compressors. Of course, another fire extinguisher. And we're going to move to the left here and look at the gear. That's your reduction gear. It takes the speed of the engine, reduces it down to the shaft, which is connected to the propeller. All right, I'm going to keep moving along. And in the center, you see two generators here. These happen to be John Deere generators. Of course, you have to have two of everything, three of the things that you really like. And over here, you have a separate power unit that operates your main towing winch. It's good to have that to run separately. And we're back to the other engine, reduction gear. Right there, you see that. Just take another quick look here forward at the engine. There is a control panel there on the side, which I did not do a close-up. Sorry about that. And another air compressor. Again, remember, two of everything and three of the things that you really like. Of course, tools and spare parts. We're going to take a look at the spare parts locker here in just a second as we move forward. That manifold there is distribution for your fuel. So you can isolate a fuel tank or draw from different fuel tanks to keep the boat level as you're moving along. Moving through this passageway, you'll notice two tanks, port and starboard, and sight glasses tell you how much fuel is in there. And this is sort of your spares locker, little workshop. You have pipe fitting tools, safety equipment in here, different things like that that you're going to need as you're going along. You also see a fire suppression system here, just in case there's an engine room fire. This is a halon system that'll just knock that fire out right away. Domestic hot water for your shower and things like that. All right, let's head back out on deck, and eventually we'll get to see the wheelhouse. Welcome to the galley on this boat. As you can see, we've got a beautiful stainless steel refrigerator freezer combination. I'm going to do a little walkthrough, show you the stove, the sinks, everything that's in here. Because remember, like I said, once you leave the dock, you have to take it all with you. Let's take a look at the galley, and then we'll check out a bunk room, and finally those wheelhouses. Now here's the stove, and notice the rail around the outside. That'll keep your pots and pans on the burners while the boat is rocking and rolling. Got a domestic sink here. This boat even has a dishwasher. That's a real luxury. And of course your cold storage. Over here is settee with seating for 6. Probably only 2 or 4 guys eat there at one time. And then up above you have more cabinetry and a television with VCR so you can entertain yourself. Now we're going to take a look at a bunk room here. Very tight. A little bit of storage for some clothing here. Up above, safety equipment. A little TV. And over here, a place to sit while you're putting your boots on, and 2 bunks. little towel rack there as well. Now let's go over and take a look at the bathroom, or the head as it's called aboard most boats. Again, very small, just a sink, toilet, and a shower. One of the skills you have to master is taking a shower while the boat is rolling. That can be a little bit challenging. But all very nice here aboard this tugboat. Welcome to the Wheelhouse here on our tugboat tour. This is basically where the captain runs a boat under most normal circumstances. I'm going to show you a close-up of the panel here. What you have is redundancy. You have 2 of everything and 3 of some of the things that you really like. You know, from right to left or left to right, the stations are identical. You have your rudder control, your throttles, radios, radar controls. In the center, of course, you have a compass. You also have engine gauges and things like that, so the captain knows what's going on with his boat, you know, to the best of his ability. Overhead here, you'll notice we have radar screens and chart plotters, another PA system so you can talk to the deckhands out on deck. And for just 1 second, let me give you a POV. We're going to look out the front here and off to the side and show you what the captain sees down there on deck. The visibility on this boat's a little bit tricky because of the way the wheelhouse sits, so you have to be careful and know exactly where your deckhands are at all times, you know, just to make sure that everybody's safe. Of course, overhead here, you have your spotlights, and behind me you have a chart table and a little settee if you're just relaxing with somebody up here as you're going down the river and towing through the ocean. And that's it for our tugboat visit inside and out. Thanks for stopping by here at Doing Time with Dan. Remember, stop by frequently for more updates on things like tugboats, flying small airplanes, and traveling around the world.